Hello aspirants, welcome to the another session of discussion of anthropology. In this session, let us understand about the research strategies. I am completing this topic in Right 1.1. So this lecture is continuation of meaning, scope and development of anthropology. So you'll come across about these research strategies in 1.3 while studying about social cultural anthropology. In that question also, if you are actually writing answer for that question, about social cultural anthropology, you have to mention about this research strategies. This is very, very important. Now, let us understand about the various research strategies of anthropology. Anthropology has its own strategy in studying all aspects of humankind. So, what all these all aspects which I have already covered in 1.1 meaning, scope, and development of anthropology, they are nothing but the biological, cultural, and social aspects of humankind. And we have already studied that anthropology, in its scientific sense, studies about biological, cultural, social aspects in all places at all times. And this kind of approach we call it as holistic approach. That's the reason anthropology is a whole science, whereas all other sciences are part sciences. Okay, did we study about all these things or not? So it studies about all aspects of humankind. When it is studying about all these aspects of humankind, then there should be certain strategies which will be very unique to anthropology. So in this research strategies, we will study about the six strategies. What are they? The first and foremost thing, that is the fieldwork perspective, which we call it as the hallmark of anthropology. This is the hallmark of anthropology. So after anthropology has introduced this fieldwork perspective, later what has happened? Many other disciplines has inherited this from anthropology. Next we have holistic perspective. Okay. And third we study about the comparative perspective. Holistic mane kya hai? Where you are covering every aspect of humankind. Okay. So that is actually called as a holistic perspective. Comparative perspective mane where you will actually compare either the cultures or the societies, okay, or the species. तो इसको हम क्या बोलेंगे? We call this kind of perspective or this kind of strategy as the comparative strategy. And next we have systems and processes perspective. For some reason I actually pronounce this as processes, okay, but actually it has to be pronounced as processes, but forgive me for this. So systems and processes mane just like in our human body we have various systems. What are those systems? We have this nervous system, digestive system, circulatory system, okay, and excretory system, ऐसा बहुत reproductory system. So we have lot of systems in our body. Just like that, okay. Even the society or the culture also have certain kind of systems and how they we actually study about them. Next, we study about the emic and ethic perspective. One is like you will have an insider view. So after you visit a field or a place or a venue, okay, so there will be some insider perspective. Say for an example, you have visited these people, okay, so you will actually have the insider view, and there will be one outsider view, like an anthropologist has his own view. So that thing we call it as emic and ethic perspective. Next we have case studies, like you have number of case studies, okay. Like we will study about the Sambaga in this particular society, the Sambagas of Papua New Guinea. And as we move on, we will actually study about the Nayars of Kerala, the Todas of Nilgiris, the newer tribes of South Sudan, the Azande tribes of South Sudan, the Kwakitul Red Indians, like इन बहुत सारे लोगों के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. So now let us actually cover one after another. The first and foremost one is being the fieldwork perspective. As I've already told you in the introductory part, this is the hallmark. So this is the hallmark of anthropology. Okay, just like say for an example, if you are a chemist, in your childhood also you must have did some experiments in laboratory. Just as a laboratory work, it is very natural for an anthropologist to do this fieldwork tradition. So what do you mean by this fieldwork? So first of all, anthropologists should actually select a venue. That venue can be either the field, I mean, not the field, like it can be any village, or any place or any particular society or a culture. Okay, so he will actually visit there. After visiting there, what he will do? He will actually do the participant observation. So we call this as the participant observation. What do you mean by this participant observation? Say for an example, you actually want to study about certain kind of, say for an example, you want to study about the Jagannath Yatra. Okay, Puri Jagannath Yatra, which is a very great festival in Odisha. So after visiting there, you being an anthropologist, so you have selected a venue now. So that is, you wanted to visit this festival. So after going there, now you are participating it. You are actually seeing like what all the things which are happening, how the stalls are established. So what is the religious fervor and how people are actually participating? What is the reason why they are actually conducting this ritual? This is one participant observation. Okay, and later on you will conduct some interviews for you to get complete information about that particular culture or the society or particular ritual. What you will do, you will actually select some people, okay, who are either the elders or who have certain knowledge about the particular culture or the ritual or the society. You will conduct interview, and later on you will collect data. I mean, you will actually gather all the data. You will analyze whatever they said, that may be or may not be true, okay, but you will actually collect all the data. After collecting the data, you will analyze, then that will be either released or it will be published as a paper and etc. This is what we call it as a fieldwork perspective. Okay, this is what we call it as a fieldwork strategy, which is very very unique, and this is actually introduced by anthropologists. So fieldwork is very important for an anthropologist. Why the fieldwork is very important for an anthropologist? Because from there you will actually get the data. So you will get a first-hand information, the first-hand information on the biological, cultural, and societal aspects of the particular place. After visiting Africa, certain anthropologists has identified that the population there is actually suffering from sickle cell anemia. Okay, how you will actually get all this idea after staying there when you understand why the population is suffering from this. Okay, later on you will actually publish the same paper to the government, and the government will actually allocate some funds. Now the doctors will come, will do some research, and finally this thing is actually explain ki those people are actually suffering from sickle cell anemia. But how all these things has happened? It is because of an anthropologist. So here we will collect first-hand information about the biological, cultural, and societal aspects of that particular place. So earlier, before this fieldwork tradition was introduced in anthropology, what were the earlier anthropologists are actually doing? So, especially the European scholars, especially while studying these anthropological theories, you will come across this classical evolutionism. So, this classical evolutionism is thoroughly criticized in the anthropological world. Why it was thoroughly criticized by the anthropological world? Because many anthropologists has criticized these cultural evolutionists as the armchair anthropologists. Very strong word. They call them as the armchair anthropologists. Why did they actually name them as armchair anthropologists? Because they never visited the field. Then how did they actually gather the information? They completely rely on the missionaries, voyagers, traders, administrators. They did these inquiries. Okay, once upon a time, like you actually know that. So Britain has actually colonized many parts of the world. So where this Britain colonies are actually located, there you actually see the missionaries, voyagers, these colonialists. They completely used to rely on them. They used to give them some questionnaires. The questionnaire. What do you mean by this questionnaire? Questionnaire मैंने क्या है? After visiting a movie or after visiting or you got some service done in some parallel or in some hospital and etc. They will actually give you some feedback form. In that feedback form, they will ask you to rate them, like how was their service, how is the ambience of that particular place, okay, how well these people are actually communicating with you. इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में आपको feedback form देंगे ही कि नहीं? Okay, so that is what we call it as questionnaire. Okay, so these people used to either give the questionnaire or they used to listen. So whatever the observation, these voyagers, missionaries, traders, administrators, whatever they give, they actually used to record. So from here, you will never get the first-hand information because you yourself are not participating there. Okay, I will give you the best example why we call them as armchair anthropologists, why we cannot actually rely on them. Okay, so I will add another slide here. This is a problem if we are conducting the class in OBS. Anyways, right. So why we should not actually rely on all these people? Why the first-hand information is very important. इसके लिए I will actually cite you some examples. So I think that all of you must be knowing about this Delhi Sultanate. दिल्ली सल्तनत के बारे में आप मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री मिडिवल इंडियन हिस्ट्री में आप पढ़ेंगे. There is a king whose name is called as Iltutmish. In the slave dynasty, there is a king who is called as Iltutmish. Who is the daughter of Iltutmish? She is none other than the Razia Sultana. Razia Sultana has ruled certain part of India, or in Delhi Sultanate has time period is between 1236 to 1240. Okay, but if you see this name Iltutmish, there is no such name in Islam or in Muslim community. Iltutmish करके ऐसा नाम ही नहीं है. But what is his original name? His name is actually Altamash. His name is Altamash. Okay, these people could not understand this language properly. So now they have actually written, they have recorded it as Iltutmish, and all of us actually are reading it as Iltutmish करके पढ़ रहे हैं. Iltutmish करके ऐसा नाम ही नहीं है पूरे मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी में. उनका नाम है अल्तमश. Because they did not actually did proper research and they are relying on the second hand information. They are not getting this first hand information. तब ऐसे गलतियां हो जाएंगे. Okay, so recently there एक हादसा हो गई है, that is the Coromandel Express. All of you actually know what has happened. Okay, if you consider this to be the Peninsula India, if you consider this to be the Peninsula India, here you have Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu, once upon a time, at certain period of time, it is actually dominated by the Cholas. So there are three types of Chola dynasties. The first one being the early Cholas, and next we have the Imperial Cholas. Later we have the later Cholas. So we are talking about this Imperial Cholas. इनके कहानी ही है पुनियन सिल्वन. Okay, the great king Rajaraja Chola is none other than our Punyan Selvan. Okay, so these Imperial Cholas are very powerful. Why? Because they have actually colonized certain parts of Malaysia, Thailand, and etc. In सारे places को जाके they have colonized them. Okay, so they used to call Malaysia as Srivijaya. They have colonized even Sri Lanka. Right, and these people, they have actually conquered till Ganges. They have reached up to Bengal. They have reached up to the Bengal. The entire the coastal area, the entire eastern part of coastal area is dominated by Cholas at one particular period of time. And they have named, okay, certain area. So they have named it as the Chola Mandala. They have named it as the Chola Mandala. Later on, when the Europeans came to India, they could not actually pronounce this word Chola Mandala. Instead of Choramandal, they have actually named it as Coromandel. Coromandel mane kya hai? It is none other than nothing but the Chola Mandala. So this is the second hand information. See, if you actually don't know about this story, okay, all of you will be actually thinking that Coromandel, okay, Iltutmish karke. But now, so this actually happens if you are relying on the second hand information. So it is very important for an anthropologist to always rely on the first hand information, and that will be possible only with the what is the thing fieldwork tradition. So those scholars who completely depend on the second hand information, especially the European scholars at that particular period of time, they are called as armchair anthropologists. They are called as armchair anthropologists. So can you see here there is a person He's a very famous person. Okay, Bronislaw Malinowski. He's the one. He's a very pioneer who has firmly established this fieldwork tradition in anthropology. It's not like that the anthropologists earlier to the Malinowski never did fieldwork tradition as a here. That is not true. They also did some fieldwork tradition. Even certain European anthropologists like E.B. Taylor, these people also did certain kind of research. Okay, E.B. Taylor has actually reconstructed the Mexican culture. He visited that. But Malinowski is one such person who has firmly established this fieldwork tradition in anthropology. He himself has actually stayed 3 years. He himself actually stayed 3 years. Okay, where he stayed, what is his contribution, we will definitely understand. So Malinowski has given some insights about this fieldwork tradition to the other anthropologists, and according to him, an anthropologist first he should choose a village. Okay, so that is a venue or a place, village or a community which is representative of the society to be studied. Okay, you can actually choose any place. Say for an example, you want to study about the Mundas or the Santals, okay, or you want to study about the Thodas or the Irulas, Kondareddis. You can choose anyone, or the mainstream society. You can actually choose anyone. Then the anthropologist should enter that particular community or the venue, whatever he has selected, and he should establish a rapport with them. He has to establish a rapport. Unless or until you establish a rapport, you will not able to understand. Say for an example, they must be celebrating some festival, or they are following certain marriage practices. Unless or until you maintain certain kind of rapport with them, they will not actually explain you why they are actually following ऐसा रीति रिवाज ऐसा रस्म क्यों कर रहे हैं, what is the reason behind it. इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में they will never explain you. Okay, so it is very important for an anthropologist to maintain a rapport with them. See, the Malinowski is actually sitting with the people. Okay, he actually went to the Melanesia and he actually sat with them. He stayed there for 3 long years. Rapport with the people, they should stay there, collect information. So you have to collect the information. So there is one participant observation. Participant observation mane kya hai? Say for an example, they are celebrating their marriage. You have to go there to their marriage. You have to see what are the cultural practices. Okay, say for an example, they are celebrating some festival. You have to attend that festival. You have to see why they are worshipping, to whom they are worshipping, what are they offering. Okay, what is the logic behind this. ये सब कब पता चलेगी? If you are actually doing the participant observation, you have to maintain some conversation with them in the form of interviews. These are all some primary techniques. These are all some primary techniques for collecting the data. Like you will collect large volume of data. So all this volume of data is not relevant. Okay, say for an example, in order to understand the chronological orders of the kings who has ruled our ancient India, Puranas give a very good insights. Puranas actually give the chronological order of the kings, dynasties who has ruled India. But whatever which is actually mentioned in Puranas, we will never study in history. हम क्यों नहीं पढ़ेंगे? Why this is not our subject matter? Even though they are providing good insights about the socio-cultural life, the economic life, about Dad and India in the ancient period, the great dynasties who has ruled the Bharatavarsha, but we do not consider Puranas as the complete story which gives the historical perspective of India. क्यों नहीं मानते हैं? क्योंकि यहाँ हमको mythology बहुत dominate करती है. The mythology actually dominate a lot. Say for an example, take the case of Kshatriyas. In Kshatriyas, you have Suryavamshis and the Chandravamshis. Suryavamshis from the solar dynasty, Chandravamshis from the lunar dynasties. What does that mean? These are the people who came from the Surya, that is the star. Sun is a star. And Chandravamshis mean they are the people who came from the moon. Okay? But can you establish this fact that they came from the star and they came from the moon, which is actually a satellite to the earth? We cannot actually believe in this. And there is another branch who is called as the Soma Vamshis. Soma means what? Soma means a drink, a very, very sacred drink for the Aryans. And this drink is actually mentioned in Rigved. ऋग्वेदा में इसको मेंशन किया हुआ है. They said that there is a mountain which is called as the Mujavant mountain. They said that there is a mountain which is called as, the name of this mountain is Mujavant, and this Mujavant is in Himalayas. And here in Mujavant only, the Soma drink is actually prepared. This can be found only here. करके. These people has written in Rigveda. So Soma Vamshis, can you actually establish about all these facts? You cannot. Okay. So that is the reason, even though you will collect large and large volumes of data, but you need not actually write down, or you need not put down everything on the paper. So whatever which is relevant, which completely showcases about their culture to greater extent, that kind of data, like, you have to analyze. This data is very, very important. Now let us understand about the holistic approach. The holistic approach. So holistic mane kya hai? Where you will actually cover every aspect. Okay. So anthropology studies every aspect of humankind. So you actually know what is this every aspect, which I have already explained in 1.1. Okay. So every aspect of humankind in a holistic way. So when you are covering every aspect of a humankind in all places at all times, this kind of approach, we call it as a holistic approach. So now, in this regard, it studies each aspect separately and all aspects together. So you will study about each aspect separately. Okay, biological, cultural, and social factors. And it is combination. Why? Because they are intertwined together. So first of all, let us actually understand about first case study. First case study for you people. Roy Rapport, one of the very, very important anthropologist in our subject, in our discipline. He is an influential anthropologist. He has conducted extensive research on the Sambaga Pig Feast, okay, or the Sambaga Pig Festival. Who are these people? Who are these Sambagas? Where do they actually live? They live in the Papua New Guinea. They live in the Papua New Guinea, okay. So he has actually studied about them, and he has recorded it as Pigs for the Ancestors, Ritual in the Ecology of the New Guinea People. This is the book which he has written, and it was published in the year 1968. It is published in the year 1968. It is his research paper. So what does this Sembaga people actually do? Okay, I will actually add another slide here. Don't worry, everything will be mentioned in the slide. So this is my promise, like, I will explain each and everything in which is given in the syllabus, and each and everything which is present in our PDF also. Okay, so the Sambagas. So Sambagas, if you consider about their marriage practices, so their marriage practices is polygynous in nature. They follow polygynous kind of marriage. I have already explained you what is polygyny. Okay, so polygamy mane kya hai? I told you that polygamy, it is a combination of two words. So what are two words? Let us actually divide them. The first one being poly, which means many. Gamy means marriage. A person having many spouses. Okay. So this can be divided into in a broader perspective. So there are many other divisions, but as of now, please remember this: polygynous kind of marriages and polyandrous kind of marriages. In polygyny, poly means many. Let us actually divide this word into two halves. So one is poly, which means many. Gyne means a man getting married to many women. Okay. So a man having many spouses, so women. So they actually follow this polygynous kind of marriage. So not only that, if a woman is actually getting married to a man, she has to bring dowry. So this dowry is in form of the pigs. Okay, swine. These people should actually bring pigs as dowry. So if a man, say for an example, there is a man and now he actually got married. to 4 people. The first wife has brought some 15 pigs. The second wife brought some 20. Third wife actually bought 25. The other one actually brought some 30 pigs. So how many pigs he actually have now? 55, 75, 90. Okay, so totally he has this 90 pigs. By the time what will happen, they actually give rise to many pigs. Now say for an example, he has some 150 pigs to 170 pigs. What he will do with all these pigs? Now he will actually arrange a pig feast. He will call all his near and dear to attend this, because he wants to showcase his wealth. He wants to show them like how wealthy person he is, because he is having so many pigs. Okay, now that is the reason he will actually sell some pigs, and he will arrange as a feast. Now whoever the people who attended this pig feast, who has actually eaten this, who has accepted their hospitality, now these people will have some soft corner for this man. Okay, they will say that this man has arranged a good pig feast to all of us. He has given us very nice दावत, अच्छा दावत घर बुला के, बहुत अच्छा हॉस्पिटैलिटी देके, इतना अच्छा दावत उन्होंने अरेंज किया. Now they will have some soft corner. Slowly, slowly, what will happen? This man's social status will increase. Okay, eventually, what will happen? This man will dominate the local priest. Okay, politically, he will get empowered. Like how it all actually started from marriage. So from marriage to acquiring wealth. So now he is actually conducting a feast so that his social order will actually, to maintain a good status quo in the society, his social order will increase. Okay, all these are actually interconnected. So that is what holistic perspective actually studies about, which is studied by Roy Rapport. So in this case study, so this is the thing which I have explained. So the a man practices polygyny, okay, where the women actually bring some dowry in the form of pigs. Okay, after certain amount of wealth he has accumulated in the form of pigs. Now what he will do? He will conduct a feast. Okay, he will call all the near and dear. They will eat. Okay, now what will happen? His reputation in his people will increase. Okay, he becomes a leader of repute within 2 to 3 years, where he can actually oblige, okay, or suppress the local priest. He even succeeds the local priest. So thus everything starts with a marriage. Okay, so in holistic approach, it need not always start with a marriage. In his case, it actually started with a marriage. Okay, it increases economic status. Eventually, his political rank is actually escalated, and finally, religious status also. He has acquired a good religious status. This shows how one aspect is related to another. It shows actually one aspect is related to another. Say for an example, if you are actually a data scientist, so there will be which is called as metadata. Facebook is now called as meta, right? Metadata माने क्या है? One data leading to the another data. So one leading to the another, one leading to the another. So that is we call it as a metadata. So here also in our anthropology, this shows how one aspect is related to another. So this kind of approach we call it as a holistic approach. It reveals the study of every aspect in isolation and all aspects in their interrelation. So now we have actually understood about the marriage practices in isolation, and how the marriage has eventually given rise to, it has enhanced his economic status and the political rank and all these things. So we will study all these aspects in isolation and in their interrelation also. Now let us understand about the comparative perspective. Comparative perspective. So comparative perspective माने क्या है? Where you will compare either the culture or the societies or whatever it is, but you will actually compare them. So anthropology adopts this comparative method. Comparative method is very very important, because while studying these anthropological theories पढ़ते समय हमको ये comparative method, like lot of anthropologists or the school of thoughts, anthropological school of thoughts, many school of thoughts actually adopted this kind of method. Okay, so it adopts the comparative method in order to know what is universal. So they will try to understand what are the things which are universal. What are the things which are universal, say, in biological perspective? सब लोगों को भूख लगती है, everyone actually wants to eat food in order to satisfy their hunger. Okay, so me being a South Indian, I prefer eating dal and chawal. Okay, some people prefer eating some parota, chapati, roti, fulka. Some people like ravioli or quesadilla or burger, something like that. Okay, so we will actually find the kinship relation. Okay, I call my mother as Amma because I am actually from Andhra. My mother tongue is Telugu. Okay, so if you are from North India, you will call your mother as Mama or Ma. Okay, if you are actually a South Korean or Korean, you will call your mother as Omma. Okay, if you are actually from European countries and your mother tongue is English, then you will call your mother as mom or mother, something like that. Okay, so there will be certain things which are universal in nature. What is general and what is particular? What is general and what is particular? Like getting married is general, but getting married to your cross cousin is particular. Getting married to your parallel cousin is also particular. So parallel cousin माने क्या है? Father's brother. Say for an example, if you have a father and father has a brother, whether he is elder or younger, and brother has a me being a girl. So if in my society parallel cousins are there. So my father has a brother and brother has a son. Now I can get married to this son. So this kind of marriage is called as parallel cousin marriages. This is parallel cousin marriage. So for an example, there is a my mother has a sister, and sister has a son. If I'm getting married to this son, so then it is actually called as parallel cousin marriages. Usually, majority of the societies do not follow this parallel cousin marriages, but in Muslim community, you will actually see parallel cousin marriages, cross cousin marriages are actually followed in their societies. Okay, so there will be certain things which are general, there will be certain things which are universal, and there will be certain things which are very very particularly observed in their society only. So in this connection, anthropology comprises ethnographies. So what do you mean by ethnography? Ethnography money, if you are actually understanding about one particular society, if you are actually understanding about one particular society or culture, then that thing is called as ethnography. You are understanding, you are collecting data, or you are doing some fieldwork tradition about one particular society or culture in one particular period of time. Okay, then that kind of studies are called as ethnography. Say for an example, I will actually need another slide. So case study number 2, please understand that this is another case study. The running notes में लिखिए definitely, and in the planner also please mention that what all the case studies we have studied in that session. Okay, very very important. So case study number 2 हम पढ़ेंगे. In case study में, so we are going to study about the Nayars of Kerala. The Nayar community of Kerala, so this community is actually studied by Kathleen Go. So she is the one who has studied about the Nayars of Kerala, and she studied before independence. So the Nayars of Kerala, if you actually see the women, okay, or the women, they have certain kind of practices which are very very unique to them. Okay, so it is largely the matriarchal society. So where the head of the family is woman. Okay, or not only that, so her brother also has a prominent role to play. Her brother also has a prominent role to play. So whom we call as a maternal uncle. उनको हम maternal uncle करके बुलाएंगे, or in short mama. But while writing the answer, please don't mention mama. Okay, so I am actually writing so that कि आप लोगों का अच्छा से समझ में आएगी करके. Okay, who is actually dominated like this family. So the entire family is actually called as, their family is called as Tharavad. And the maternal uncle, what do you call the maternal uncle? उनको हम बोलेंगे कर्णवन. उनको हम बोलेंगे कर्णवन. Okay. So the females who are born in this society, what will happen to them? Now let us actually understand. Before they attain puberty, they have to get married from a boy from the same community. Okay. So the marriage, the marital relationship, okay, the girl should actually, from the Nair community, she should always get married to a Nair boy. So Nair boy से उनका शादी हो जाना चाहिए before she attains puberty. If she is not getting before this attainment of puberty, okay, then what will happen? The entire family is actually excommunicated from the community. So before she attains puberty, definitely she needs to get married. So after that, okay, so this thing we call it as Tali Kattu Kalyanam. We call this as Tali Kettu because they are Malayalis. We call them as Tali Kettu Kalyanam. So this is one relationship which she actually maintains. So there is another relationship which is called as Sambandham. In Sambandham, she can have many other partners apart from her husband. Who are they? Usually the Nambudri Brahmins. And you already know that the Brahmin community who are on top of the Varna system has many privileges. Okay, and we are talking about the society before we attain independence. So the Brahmin community used to dominate them. Say for an example, if a Nambudri Brahmin has saw this girl, say for an example, we are talking about a girl who is called as some like Yan. Okay, Yan करके एक लड़की है, उनके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. Okay, so now a Nambudri Brahmin has actually saw this girl Yan. He liked her, and there is one particular culture in Kerala is that the women of the lower caste cannot cover their upper part of the body. The women of the lower caste, they cannot cover upper part of their body. And there is a tax which is imposed on their size of breast. Very, very inhuman. Yeah, this is true. It used to exist at one point of time. There is a lady, a very brave lady, okay, Nangeli करके. तो उनके बारे में बहुत सारे movies हैं, and you can also Google her. Okay, she has actually chopped off because based on the breast size, they will increase the tax, and that has to be paid by their household. Okay, so now these people are actually already they are poor. They come from the lower caste. They are from the humble origin. They don't have a lot of money, and ऊपर से ये लोग ऐसा बेकार के taxes they are imposing on them. So once upon a time, what has happened? This Nangeli, she has actually questioned the authorities. She said that why we should not cover our upper part of the body where your people, so your women, the women from the higher caste can cover their upper part of the body. And she has actually admonished all these things. She stood for her rights. Okay, and later on she has actually chopped off her breast in order to protest this has created a huge tremors in their society, and later on, and because of many other things, what has happened, now they are allowed to cover their upper part of the body and etc. Okay, but see this Nambudri Brahmin, if he actually likes this girl, and now he can actually approach the Karnavan. So now the Nambudri Brahmin can approach the Karnavan. Karnavan mane kaun hai? He is the maternal uncle of the girl. He will go there. This Nambudri Brahmin will approach the Karnavan and he will say that I actually like the girl. Now I want to share the bed with her. Now the Karnavan will actually give him certain things. Like he will ask them to bring, he will ask the Nambudri Brahmin to bring certain amount of turmeric powder, coconut oil, some clothes, okay, some pattu clothes, I mean some silk clothes to his household members, or for himself, or some for the elderly ladies, or for the girl. Okay, he will actually order him to bring these many clothes. Okay, and some coconuts, and you already know that Kerala is famous for coconuts and etc. After the Nambudri Brahmin brings all these things, that night the husband has to stay away from the bedroom. He cannot actually sleep with the girl. Now the Nambudri Brahmin will share the bed with the girl. Okay, and the girl cannot actually resist it. He has to obey it. Okay, after that, if she becomes pregnant, the biological father can be anyone, either the husband or the Nambudri Brahmin. But there is no obligation on part of the Nambudri Brahmin to pay for her delivery charges or for her pregnancy. There is no obligation on him. But the husband should definitely take care of the wife while she is actually going through this labor pains throughout this 9 months and etc. The husband is obliged to do all these things, and there is no divorce system in them. A husband cannot divorce his wife. If he divorces, then what will happen? He will be excommunicated from the whole of the community. Okay, so this kind of system usually exists at that particular point of time. And after the child is born, once the child is born, what will happen? This child, okay, will call the Nambudri Brahmin ko, he will call him as Achanan. Achanan mane Lord. But the child should call the husband of the N. Okay, the husband ko, husband of her mother, उनको क्या करके बुलाना है? Appa or Appan. Appan mane father. Did you understood? Okay. So this thing we call it as the case study. इसको हम बोलेंगे case study. This was actually studied by Kathleen Go at before, prior to 1947. But now these people has moved on. They have moved on to the mainstream society. They are no longer following this Talikattu Kalyanam or Sambandham. I don't know like whether this video is actually obstructing this part. Okay, now I am actually writing this. So this is the Talikattu Kalyanam. The second thing is the Sambandham. These are the two relationships where a Nair girl will actually have in her life. Not only the Nambudri Brahmin, see, not only the Nambudri Brahmin can share a bed with her, even the soldiers. If a soldier is actually passing through their village, okay, if he actually likes N, then he can actually approach the Karnavan, okay, and the Karnavan will actually order all these things. And if the soldier provides all these things, that night the husband has to stay away from the home. And what will happen? And that soldier can share the bed with them. This is not only found in India, this is also found in Himba tribe. The Himba tribe in Africa. Okay, we will study about this Himba tribe and etc. by studying the family, marriage, kinship and etc. It may be if a passerby, if a passerby is actually passing through the hut where the Himba tribe people are actually staying. Okay, at that night, the husband has to sleep outside the house, and the passerby can actually share the bed with his wife. This kind of traditions used to exist across the globe. Okay, this type of study, okay, we call it as ethnographic. माने एक ही time period में एक ही society और एक ही culture और any village किसी एक के बारे में एक ही टाइम पीरियड में अगर कोई पढ़ेंगे उनके बारे में एक डिटेल्ड एनालिसिस देंगे उसको हम इथनोग्राफिक स्टडीज करके बुलाएंगे वी कॉल दैट काइंड ऑफ स्टडीज एज ethnographic studies. So anthropology compares it ethnographies of different types of societies. Studies about ethnographies of different types of society. We will actually study about many societies. We will know the similarities and differences among them. Okay, एक होती है similarities. अच्छा, these people also follow marriage rules and restrictions, but their marriage rules and restrictions are very different from us. Okay, we will find the similarities as well as differences. On the basis of similarities, it identifies what is universal, general, and based on the differences, we will find out what are the particular features. So, anthropology builds a theory on the basis of similarities among the cultures and societies. Are you following what I'm actually saying? Okay, so it builds a theory on the basis on what? So, if you actually find the similarities, like there will be some kinship relation, kinship system across the globe, everyone has this kinship. Okay, they will call their father, mother, sister, brother. कुछ टर्मिनोलॉजी होंगे उनके लिए, for the maternal land, for the paternal land, for the cousins, for the maternal cousins, paternal cousins, सब लोगों के लिए एक एक terminology होगी. We'll study. So those are the similarities. Eventually, we will understand about the Omaha system, the Sudanese system. Okay, Iraqis, Red Indians, Iraqis, Red Indians के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. ये सारे लोगों के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. The marriage practices, the institution of marriage. So every society will have religious practices, the religions. Okay, so we will build a theory basis on this similarities which are found in cultures and societies. Now let us understand about the difference between the ethnology. So this the spelling of this is ethnology and ethnography. So I already explained you what is ethnography. It's a research methodology used in anthropology to document cultures and social groups at one particular period of time. At one particular period of time. Okay. So ethnographers, what will be the aim of ethnographers? They will give you a detailed description, understanding about the cultural practices, beliefs, values, and social structures which are prevailing in their society. Why they are actually celebrating this kind of festival? What could be the logic behind this? Okay, why they are actually worshipping them? So that thing they will actually explain. So for an example, the newer religion or the newest, which is studied by E.V. Evans Pritchard. Okay, and he has actually published this his paper, that is study of the newer people of Sudan, and now it is the South Sudan. You know that Sudan is actually um, uh, divided into two. The Agronauts of Western Pacific by Bronislaw Malinowski. The Agronauts, I told you, they actually stay in Papua New Guinea. They are called as, it is studied of, he studied the Trobriander Islanders of Papua New Guinea. Coming of age in Samoa, it is studied by Margaret Mead. Okay, coming of age means after attaining puberty. So these puberty practices will be different from society to society. Certain societies actually they mutilate the genitals of the female to safeguard her chastity and etc. Okay, so the coming of age in Samoa, which is studied by Margaret Mead, which is the study of adolescence in Samoan society. The Yanomamo tribes, the fierce people by Napoleon Chagnon. He studied about the Yanomami people who are indigenous to the Amazon rainforest. इन सारे लोगों के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. These are all the ethnographic works. They have studied about only one particular society at one particular period of time. Now, what is ethnology? Ethnology, on the other hand, it is a comparative study of various ethnographies. Say for an example, if you are actually studying comparing about the newer tribe, the Yanomamo tribe, okay, Kwakitul Red Indians के बारे में, and you are comparing about some Irula tribes who are inhabiting in India. So this is what, and you are actually comparing, not restricted to one particular period of time. Okay, so this is what we call it as ethnology. It has a very broader perspective. It has a very broader perspective of different cultures and social groups. It involves, what does it actually involves? It analyzes, it compares. Now we are comparing now. We are comparing the newest with that of Anomamos, with the that of the Kwakitul Red Indians, to Iroquois Red Indians, to the Irulas. ये सब क्या है? These are all the comparing various ethnographic data. We are comparing the various ethnographic works from different societies to the regions to different patterns, similarities. So when you are comparing, what will happen? You will definitely identify certain kind of similarities. कुछ similarities आपको दिखाई देंगे, कुछ differences भी दिखाई देंगे. So you will understand about the similarities as well as differences when you are actually doing this comparative research, or when you are actually sticking to this comparative perspective. So ethnology, what could be the possible name of ethnology? It will generate some theories and generalizations. किसके बारे में? About the human cultural diversity, okay, social structure and historical development. This is the aim of ethnology. So obviously the scope of ethnology will be broader than the ethnographic. So that is the reason ethnographic works को हम क्या करके बुलाएंगे? We call the ethnographic works as synchronic in nature, whereas ethnology, the ethnological works को हम क्या करके बुलाएंगे? Diachronic. इसके बारे में बहुत एलाबरेटली हम 1.3 में सोशल कल्चरल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में हम पढ़ेंगे. ओके, प्लीज अटेंड द सेशन. सोशल कल्चरल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. दोस पीपल हु हैज ऑलरेडी पेड, you can download the PDF and you can watch this recorded session as many times as you can. So now let us understand about one example. The elementary structure of kinship. So this is one such example for ethnology, which is studied by Claude Lévi-Strauss. So Claude Lévi-Strauss, he is actually a French anthropologist. He did a comparative study of kinship. Kinship systems mane kya hai? Like there will be certain terminology where you call your father as with certain name. Like I call my father as Nana. Okay, Nanagaru, because I am from Andhra. Okay. So if you are an Tamilian, then what you will call? You will call him as Appa. Okay. If you are actually a Muslim, you will call him as Abba. Okay, बाबा करके बुलाएंगे है कि नहीं? So this is actually the terminology in kinship. Now he has actually studied about this terminology of kinship, okay, in different societies. That is the comparative study. So that is the ethnological works. And the interpretation of cultures, which is studied by Clifford Geertz, okay, analysis of cultural symbols. So in our culture, especially in Hinduism, we have this swastik symbol, which is very sacred to us. There is some symbol which is called as Om, okay, which is also very, very important to us. Okay, likewise, many cultures has many cultural symbols which may be good, which may be demonic in nature, which can be very, which have this holistic nature associated to them. Okay, in Christianity, the cross is considered to be very, very holy. Okay, the 786 number is considered to be very holy for the Islam people, like a half moon, the crescent moon, not the half moon. The crescent moon is very holy symbol for our Muslim brothers and sisters. Okay, so Clifford Geertz has actually analyzed the cultural symbols and their meanings in the various societies. And the cultural materialism, which is studied by Marvin Harris. He has written The Struggle for a Science of Culture. This is a comparative analysis of the cultural practices and the ecological and material determinants. Okay, so fine. The comparative method in anthropology by Franz Boas. So Franz Boas, okay. Examination of comparative method in ethnology and its significance in understanding the cultural diversity. This is the thing which he has actually written. Now here I have actually mentioned what is ethnography and ethnology. I think that we have already studied about that. Now let us understand about the systems and processes perspective. I have told you that like in a human body how we have various systems like the digestive system, circulatory system, reproductory system, excretory system, like that. Okay, so just like that, a culture also have certain kind of system. What are they? There can be some technological. Certain societies are still dwelling on the stone tools, bone tools, okay, very basic tools. Certain societies are having access to larger gadgets and etc. So technological, economic, certain societies are still dependent on this barter system. Say for an example, if you ever went to Andaman and Nicobar, there you will find these people, that is the Jarways, Ongays, Sentinelese, who are very primitive, who are living in this century, yet they are actually adopted to this primitive kind of lifestyle. They are still following this barter system. Okay, and now the mainstream society is also understanding about the bitcoins and etc. the social, religious, political, recreational, and other systems. So recreational is something for your refreshment of mind. So it can include dance, magic, music, कुछ भी आ सकती है, some games and etc. And social, you know what is the social, religious, and political. Political में we have theocracy, democracy, monarchical kind of government, communism, shows socialism. Okay, we have this kind of things. So in the same way, society is also a system. So we compare society is also a system, and it includes structural, organizational, functional also. Here I have forgot to mention functional, status system, and it has certain rules and so on. So there will be some structure which will actually dictate. Okay, there will be certain kind of organization which will take care of all these structural system of a society. Okay, and there will be certain status which will be associated to them, and there will be role for every person to play. As a mother she plays one role, as a wife she plays one role, as a teacher she plays one role, and she is actually in one kind of structure, whether it is a patriarchal or matriarchal or ambilocal, जो भी है. Okay, so having knowledge about the every system will be obtained based on the subsystems. Say for an example, you want to study, okay, where the language, communication, courtesies, rituals, roles, customs, relationship, all these are certain kind of subsystems. After studying all these things, you can have a broader perspective. Okay, so there is a anthropologist who has actually studied about the Japanese people after World War II. People are actually very astonished. Okay, these people actually wanted to understand why the Japanese, like what kind of confidence it has to wage war against these Americans. They are the people first actually bombarded the Pearl Harbor. उनका एक harbor है, this is which is actually called as the Pearl Harbor. So Japanese actually invaded it. They thoroughly bombed them. Later on, what has happened? Now the USA also joined the Second World War. ये सब क्यों हुआ? Japanese को उतना confidence क्या है करके she actually wanted to study them. After studying, she understood that while enculturating the children right from their childhood, right from their 1.5 years or 2 years and 3 years, these people started teaching them like they have to follow their own potty manners. Okay, they have to prepare their bed, they have to clean the utensils or something. There is a very lengthy procedure which no other children or in any other part of the world actually follows, but they have actually trained, encultured their children in certain way. So right from your childhood, if you are actually born and brought up in certain way where you will have a very strict rules and restrictions, now your mind is predetermined. Okay, so because of that thing, these people have this kind of confidence in सारी चीजों के बारे में उन्होंने पढ़ा है. Okay, so the subsystems will actually eventually give a greater insights for the system which you actually want to study. So which implies that an anthropologist will be gaining knowledge. How? By studying every subsystem. Like all these are subsystems, manners of interacting, thoughts, values. Say for an example, if I am actually ask you, आपका नाम क्या है? Okay, आपका नाम क्या है? Where I am actually giving you respect. If I actually ask you, तेरा नाम क्या है? I am actually asking you in this way. The first one being very formal. The second one is rude and informal. But there are people who actually interact in the first way, and there will be people who will interact in the second way. These are all the subsystems. Okay. So as you move, all the people actually, say for an example in Andhra and Telangana people actually talk the same language, that is the Telugu, majority of the people. But you actually move from place to place, the slang, the variation, the way how the phrases are actually combined, like the way how the people use that language is very different. Okay, in Hindi also, like the Biharis, certain parts in Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, in लोगों का language बहुत different होगा. Okay, in Uttar Pradesh, certain people who stay in Lucknow and etc., their language will be different. Like they incorporate this hum. While if I am actually saying like, okay, मैं आऊंगी आपके शादी के लिए. Okay, but certain people in certain parts of North India, okay, in certain parts of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and etc. They actually say, "हम आएंगे आपके शादी के लिए." Like you are giving respect to yourself. Okay, so by studying the subsystems, you will have a greater insights about the major system. So this perspective is useful in studying the whole culture in scientific way, easy scientific way, because categorizing all the subsystems when you study each and everything, okay, that is a easy way. Isn't it true or not? Like, if the food is served in your plate platter, what you will do? सब कुछ एक ही बार ठूस लेंगे क्या? Like you will combine everything and eat everything. Okay, you will not do that, right? Okay, you will first complete the roti and next you will move on to the dessert. Something like that. You will categorize it. So ऐसा क्या होगा? Eventually that will become easy for you to eat or digest the food. So the next one, it is the emic and etic perspective. So I have already told you what is emic and etic. So you can see in this picture. Emic is the insider perspective. Etic is the outsider perspective. Okay. By seeing from outside, we actually it doesn't feel comfortable with certain rituals and practices. But if you are from insider, if you are seeing from the insider perspective, then you will actually see, yeah, this is correct. So I'll cite you one such example. So there is a process which is called as Santara, which is observed by the Jains in India. Okay, so you must be knowing already about the Sallikana. Sallikana means what? What does Sallikana implies? Fasting on to the death. Fasting on to the death, which is actually performed by Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of Mauryan dynasty. He has performed this Sallikana. Okay, so there is a king in Rashtrakutas, the Amoga Varsha, also performed Sallikana in a different way. He did not actually fasted on to that. He did Jalasamadhi. So that is one such thing. That is another variant of Sallikana. But the Santara is very different. What does Santara actually means? Like group of people staying together and fasting on to death. That is actually called as Santara. Like lot of human activists, they have raised this concern. They have filed a bill in the court saying that like how can we encourage? This is one kind of suicide. Okay, suicide is a very heinous crime according to the constitution of India and in certain parts of the world. Like you cannot kill your body. That is very very sinful. Okay, so they said that while if you are actually encourage this, like group of people fasting on to the death, this is very very incorrect karke they have raised. That is a outsider perspective. That is a ethic perspective. But if you are talking about the emic perspective, if you are a Jain, then you will understand why they are actually performing this Santara or Sallikana, because they want to get delivered from this birth and death cycle. This birth and death cycle, they want to cut it in this life only. Okay, if they are not following SIE, if you are actually merged in the mainstream society, constantly you will have certain kind of goals. In order to reach these goals, you will do some sins. Okay, and you will keep aside this religious activities. So in order to avoid all these things, they actually perform this Santara. So this is the emic and etic perspective. Both the perspectives are actually important. Okay, so emic refers to the people's view of their biology, culture, and society. Ethic refers to the investigator's viewpoint, that is about the biology, culture, and society. So during the COVID period, everyone started saying that, like, how can these Chinese eat each and everything which is available on the planet? Okay, that is the ethic perspective. Then what is the emic perspective of this? So the emic perspective is that at once upon a time, a huge famine has hit China karke. So what has happened at that time? People did not have anything to eat. Like at that time, they are also eating just like us. Okay, जब कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहे थे, then they started adopting कि हम जो मिले वो उन सारे चीजों को हम खा लेंगे, हम खाएंगे. Whether it is a slithering, whether it is slimy, whether it is a bat or whatever it is. Okay, they will eat each and everything. They will only spare human beings. बाकी सब कुछ खा सकते हैं वो लोग. Okay, so whether it is edible or not edible, only thing is that whatever they are eating, you should not kill them. Okay, you should not poison them or you should not kill them. बाकी सब कुछ खा सकते हैं. That is the emic perspective. Okay, so both of them are very, very important. Both viewpoints are necessary for an anthropologist in order to have a proper insights about that culture or society. So there is an example here. So there is an American anthropologist. She has visited the indigenous tribes who are inhabiting there. She has visited one red Indian girl. After visiting there, she asked, like, what are your marriage practices? She is conducting some interview. So now she is actually interviewing that girl, like, आपका शादी कैसे हुए? How you got married? Now the girl is actually replying that. So there exists some bride price. What do you mean by bride price? If a boy want to get married to a girl, now he has to pay something, whether in the form of currency or in the form of cattle or in the form of gold. जो भी है, now he has actually need to pay. Okay, so bride price होती है उनके society में. She said that my husband has paid 40 cows to my father as a bride price. Then I got married to him. So now this girl actually started inquiring about the American anthropology. She asked her the same question, like, how many cows you actually received when you got married? ऐसा सिस्टम थोड़ी ना सब लोगों के सोसाइटी में होती है. Now this American anthropologist said that no, I didn't receive not even a cow. Now this red Indian girl was so perplexed. She asked the American anthropologist, ki, you are not even worthy of one single cow. Okay, so yeah, 60 cattle. So my bad, it is not 40, it is 60. Okay, so this is the emic and ethic perspective. Okay, so please read this. So this gives an insights about what kind of practices which exist in their society. Okay, so why they are getting married in certain way. They showcase their cultural customs, practices, rituals, and etc. So that is very, very important for an investigator, that is an anthropologist, to have a proper insights about their culture. Okay, now the case study perspective. Case study perspective mane, it gives a complete description of an individual or a group, where you have to select only one group or a culture or a society. There you have to get the complete details. Now I have actually placed you a thing about the thoras. Like, you have to select only one cultural group or one individual or a group or a event. Now you actually wanted to study about the Kumbh Mela. You have to study only about this. Like, you should not actually study any other thing, like isko hi padhna chahiye. So this kind of thing we call it as case study perspective. So if you are doing case study perspective, like, you are concentrating on only one point at one time, it gives you a complete life cycle. It makes you understand about the ceremonies of the individuals, family planning programs. Like, some people actually immediately after one child is born, okay, they are not ready for the other child. Some people, they keep on actually giving birth to many children. So family planning programs, political events, community participation, rural development programs, casework, welfare programs, it gives you about the insights of all these things. So case studies not only substantiate the facts but also validate the facts. What do you mean by this? Okay. Say for an example, you have actually understood about one particular cultural society, and you saw in the society predominantly child marriages are existing. Okay. So when child marriages are existing, what you can actually do, you can write the same letter, you can forward this case study to the government. Now the government will bring a stringent rule on them. Is substantiate and validate the facts. Very, very important. Okay. Say for an example, if you are actually studying about the thoras of the Nilgiris. The thoras of Nilgiris are polyandrous. Nilgiris. They are polyandrous in nature. What do you mean by polyandrous? Like a woman having multiple husbands. Okay. So there are many varieties in polyandrous also. As of now, please understand this. A woman having multiple husbands. Why they are actually marrying in this way? Like, sharing a girl with many husbands, like this kind of culture you will actually not find. This kind of culture is predominantly not found. Only men marrying many women is accepted in many societies. Okay, when women actually marrying many other men, okay, is strictly forbidden. but Thodas actually participate. They encourage this kind of. Why do they do this? Because they claim their ancestry to the Pandavas of Mahabharata. Pandavas में Draupadi, who got married to all the five brothers, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev. Okay, she got married to all the five brothers of the same family. है कि नहीं? So they actually trace back their ancestry to the Pandavas. So that is the reason this is actually happening, substantiating and validating the facts. Okay, so that insights will be given by the case study. So, what is the conclusion? It describes once again the same thing, the biological, societal aspects, cultural aspects in their isolation and in their interrelation. This kind of perspective we call it as holistic, which is actually the hallmark of anthropology. So, anthropology is that is the reason recognized as a whole science, whereas the other sciences are recognized as the part sciences. Okay, so right. So, in this context, Kenneth E. Boulding said that the whole vast perspective of man is what an anthropologist can. Very big statement. The whole vast perspective of man, okay, which includes the biological, cultural, and social aspects, is what an anthropologist actually can. So the net that they take is as big as a lake. Okay, say for an example, there is a lake. Normally, the fishermen actually get restricted to this kind of nets. But if you are an anthropologist, what you have to do, you have to take net the whole size of the lake. Let the fish escape if it can. If you are taking a net completely, which covers the entire lake, can the fish escape unless or until it is very shatir and etc. So this is what Kenneth E. Boulding has said. I hope that you have enjoyed the lecture. Okay, the next lecture will be on 1.2 relation of anthropologists with various sciences and humanities. Okay, we'll meet in the other session. Till then, take care and bye bye.